as Franklin County Commission. Franklin County Commissioners.
Franklin County Commissioners meeting, February 26, 2019.
Can't hardly call it a special meeting, a delayed meeting. So, and myself, Brad is on his way. Heard if you bye. Agenda this morning reads a 10 o'clock public hearing, but that has been pulled from the agenda. Second item is naming rights. I want Brad here to talk about that, so we'll go on to the third item. Written here is a Clean Water Act drawdown. I see clean water.
write them and voice your public opinion about how this is not possible, and it is an abuse of the 401 section of the Clearwater Act. I can get you the Clearwater Act if you need that. I'm not a practiced politician. I just
Oh, that's clear or clean?
Clean
Yes.
Water Act.
Clean water, talking temperature. I would have to argue, as I read through all these information that was given to me, have a letter here from James L. Bicall, who wrote The Great Salmon, read, and that I have lots of footnotes in here from his book, and this is a great book about the Great Salmon hoax, and it's all about money. But he wrote in here, the ecology's attempt to exercise 401 certified powers under the Federal Clean Water Act poses a serious threat to the continued usefulness of Columbia and Snake Rivers dams. As the D.C. Circuit remarked last month, it is now commonplace for states to use 401 to hold federal licensing hostage. That's what they're doing. And then as I read through the rest of the information, I just started to contemplate. They're talking about taking Lower Granite from 738 at first to 733, which is only a drop of 5 feet. But then down here, they're talking about taking it clear down to 1690, where the fish ladder won't even work. And they've got tubes that they're going to discharge the salmon through, and a whole bunch of more extra effort.
And they already have a weir that they finished in 2015, which I don't think the Fish Management Center expected that to happen. I think that's what, in my opinion, was that we're going back over this, that prompted this delayed suddenly that, we're not going to do it.
And then the thing that really caught my eye was overall survival of the juvenile salmonoids migrating across the Lower Granite Reservoir will likely improve. Likely is a word that, yes, very vague. And then they talk about the erosion of the roads and the railroads. Drop that down. So we're talking about all of the grain then will have to be transported by trucks or rail car.
So, page 7 of the information you got, I want to touch on that, because you always have a growth management plan, and I think you have a new draft of that, since I requested one from administrator a year or so ago. But that would mean 174,000, this is numbers from 2014. That means 174,440 semi-trucks or 43,210 railroad cars. And that is going to have a dramatic impact. I don't know if you've taken that and calculated it into the cost of our roads in the county to adjust for that. But there are so many sectors that are affected here. Ratepayers, they can raise the rates, which they're going to, and we see that it's going to be 10% plus the cost of the study and the cost of the spill. So we can bring in revenue. It's all going to go to people who are supposed to be getting fair housing and on the lower end. It's just going to cost so much to keep her doing your home that is a major impact on our citizens. So that is why I'm asking you to write a couple of letters. One of those letters is Governor Inslee, and an opinion page in the Sunday paper about the Snake River Dam Task Force. Number one, I want you to know as an update that initially was proposed in the Salary Conservation Council before states approved. There was no consultation of any other governors in those states by our governor, and they denied it. So now it's going to have to go to the arm of the governor, which is the Commerce Department, and Lisa Brown will be heading that. But the funds have not been released in the appropriations bill because, as far as we can tell, the Democrats are not even agreed on that majority party or caucus, whatever. There's so many specific words that pardon if I get too expressive, but so we would like, there's no reason for them to do a study on a statewide basis when it's being federally done. So I would ask you to write Governor Inslee on that matter. I would ask you to write the Department, Washington State Department of Ecology on their end run around attacking dams again. We have multiple 2 to 3 studies I would ask for, request go directly to the Department of Interior, Corps of Engineers, and Department of Energy. Because in an EIS, we have to have an EAS, and we cannot find one. All counties are supposed to have a copy of that initial study, the scope of what the study will be. And we were literally told from the representatives of Bonneville Power that they didn't have to do it. The judge is going to take them and slap them down. Now, we all know that Trump said, hurry up and finish this thing. That is somewhat helpful, but it runs the potential of what's called the judge appointing himself the river master, so literal appointment. And I have talked to representatives of the Corps. I have talked to, they think that Congress is the only one that can vote for them, so the only one that can take it down. And I would argue that this letter from Patty Murray that did not go to any Department of Natural Resources or any committee, but directly to Chuck Schumer, Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell, and Nancy Pelosi, stating that the 2014 buyout was not satisfiable to the requirements, which we strongly disagree with. We think that undoing that has the potential for the most harm. These EAS requirements need to be brought out, and I would ask you to solicit more manpower from the cabinet level, because right now Congress is locked up on and they do have the power to do the Endangered Species Act exemption. The other choices are waited out. Our EPA administrator is Elliot Newman, who has not been replaced by Neil Titan yet, and the judge stands ready to take part in the 2014 biological opinion, which then caused another suspension of the renegotiation of the fish accord. And they went from $700 million to about $1.2 billion. We have no accounting of where that money goes to, and we're back to battling different groups for the same resources that were satisfied in the 2014 buyout. So I asked for 3 letters from my commissioner. Any other questions? I will provide the documents that I brought with me.
Well, as far as that Clean Water Act, when you lower a pool of water as a farmer, watching them melt off 3 years ago, when a pool of water is lowered, it exposes sediment that's behind those dams. And as you increase the flow of the water, sediment will break away and go down. You're not going to have clean water. Now you're going to pollute the water with sediment. This doesn't make any sense. And as you lower a pool of water, the water will heat even more because the depth of the water. So Keith, these are things we need to put into the letter that it doesn't make any common sense. There's no good sense here. Action, and I think we need to put these letters together and get them sent.
One final point. You mentioned farming. Now they can increase rates for all this, and quite frankly, carbon tax on all the semi-trucks and trains, which I don't know that we'll get the benefit from that. But farmers can't go anywhere else for water, and the transport of our wheat will be gone, and it'll increase the cost of our wheat. Will no longer be competitive. And Eastern Washington State brings about as much revenue as the entire state of Idaho. And I think that we have a voice, and I think that we have impact and power. But I believe that citizen activism, presenting these cases with that, is grounds for action.
So if they lower that to 690 feet behind the lower granite, how many farmers, is that going to eliminate all the pumping sites? Their suctions will be out of the water pool?
My understanding is there's about 300 farms that would be affected. I would have to double check on that.
Would they be allowed to extend their suctions into the pool of water, or are they just out of water?
Well, if the judge becomes river master, the commission that is unelected and unrepresented will probably do the good passes, and then they'll have to go out to them. So I can answer that.
Terms and lower granite.
On both sides of the river.
Oregon and one.
200 farmers that depend on the river. I don't know if they're all taking irrigation, but they're all affected by
school zone.
And one other impact. If you set this precedent where a federal judge carves away the power over the river from the federal agencies and from Congress in these 4 states, you have to think about the other waters, bodies of waters, and what they transport. And I have done some study on that, and these waterways across this country, not just Washington State, transport both food and, I know people don't like coal, but other items that our economy drives. But more importantly, it transports our munitions and our troops to war, if we are called upon that. And in this time, in our nation, we need to make sure that we are defending our borders and we're not allowing the vessels to sit here in Washington State and then take them across the Mississippi to Missouri and the St. Lawrence or wherever those other rivers are. But the waterways are a major driver of economy in our country, and they're a major driver of power and energy, clean energy, and they're a major source of national growth.
All in all, letters. Drafted. Welcome, Brad.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry for being late. I was out checking. Driving.
So we, as of, that we move the naming rights down, all 3 of them. That, Tom? Morning. Contract visited edited to the point usable for both parties.
Well, I have a couple questions. I have been hearing from constituents, mainly from the county, that they would like to retain the word track on the building, possibly call APO track, APO Credit Union track. Okay. Just, it's a mainstay. It's what built up that area, created the robust growth in that area. And really, it's almost like going to the fair, 4-H'ers and the FFA'ers, and really that interested or motivated to be there anymore because it is hard to get to and get away from. But we have a lot of people that want to retain that name. I just want to know, is there any movement, APO, to retain the track name on there with their name? Then the other question I have was, at the end of the 10 years, we were to take this agreement? Is there a right of first refusal? What is the continuation of this, and who would be responsible if they walked away from putting track back up there? For removing all their signage?
Tom, if memory serves, there's termination requirement, fine, cost of straight line. 50%. Well, that's the nicest thing anybody said to me all day. All right, so just to recap that quickly, we just confirmed that the contract is for 10 years, and if the county were to leave early, there's a straight line appreciation on the cost of the signage change. If we cut this off at the 5-year point, we have to give them 1 year notice of our intent to leave, and at the 5-year point, be half amortized, and we half the cost of redoing the signage and putting it back where it originally was. If we left at the 8-year point, 80% depreciated, and we have 20% of the cost, so pretty straightforward. Tom, you and I had a conversation some time back about advertising, particular that HAPO would placing advertising inside the facility. There's a question about whether or not the track incurred any liability or any cost, especially cost, for maintaining that signage or preparing any of the advertising materials. Time you told me that that was all on HAPO. Is that still correct? And Keith, you and I had a conversation about potential conflicts of interest with other advertisers. Get that a little better. That potential conflict being there's an event at the track, and trying to think of a good example. Let's use a bridal show, let's say, something completely unrelated to the credit union business. And the show was going to be sponsored by the competing credit union. That indirectly provides advertising. Does the exclusive advertising opportunity for HAPO make that untenable? Is that still permissible? And is there anything in the contract, the last piece being the most important, that makes that clear? Because I can see reasonable people thinking that there's an exclusivity there for HAPO that would not allow somebody to advertise publicly that they are the sponsor of a big show. So if I take those two together, and if I understand your statement, what you're saying is that if the indoor garage sale wants to expand, whatever, and they're looking for a sponsor, they have to go to HAPO first before they go to any other business, any other credit union? Okay, I want to be sure we're talking the same language. Let's say that I decide that I want to have a show there for an antique show, let's say, and I'm the promoter. Not a track promoted show. It's my show that I'm promoting. Does HAPO have first right of refusal on that? Would I go to a credit union, competing credit union, have them sponsor it? And HAPO is aware of this and they're okay with it? And HAPO does or does not have first right of refusal on that. I'm not convinced that the contract really says that. Are you? Okay. Okay, good enough. When Keith and I talked about that, that didn't come up, so that would address that concern. Let's see. I seem to recall you telling me that HAPO had expressed to you that the name would be HAPO only, and that any combination involving track or keeping track would be a showstopper, not proceed. Do I remember that correctly? Okay. Right. Have you received any feedback or questions or concerns from any constituents? I got one from Mr. Engelkey, who's a North County resident, expressing that they did not want to, he and unnamed others were not wanting to have the track name. If you've not heard him. Okay, Mr. Chairman, that's all my questions for right now. Perhaps Mr. Whittier has additional.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think there might be some people in the audience that would like to.
Go on there.
Okay.
It's not a public hearing. Open the microphone, but definitely come to this microphone and speak. New sound system.
Allegheny. I actually was on the track advisory board committee for several years, and the take I got on it, we've discussed this several times about selling rights, advertising track, and as I remember right, it was pretty well agreed that we would somehow keep track involved in the name. Found out about this coming before this body just Friday. I've had a chance to talk to about 10 people. 80% of them have track involved in the name. I think it's something that it's been signage. People know about track. We do disservice to track, take that name away. Like anything else, if you change your name, people, if you've been in business for 20 years, they know you by your business. All of a sudden, you get a new name. Who are you? I think track needs to stay on. I think he might be a little bit light on feed you're going to be receiving from HAPO. Hard to do apples and apples, but Toyota, that brings in $150,000 a year. Now we're going to go back from apples to oranges here. I think track should be able to $105,000 a year, especially if it sounds to me like you're not going to be able to have somebody put their name on the arena or things like that. My understanding is that Mansion Home was $35,000 just to name the arena on the inside. So when you take that away, that's taking that opportunity away. Sorry, I haven't read the contract. I couldn't find it in there, so computer ability sometimes. I think you're probably leaving some money on the table, and people I talked to, they wanted to have track left in the name. That was some people that actually, I talked to one or two people that have actually been involved in track, and they didn't want to come forward today, but they wanted track to be left. It could be the HAPO track center. So many ways that you could put it in where it wouldn't take away from the HAPO. I would prefer to I'd prefer the $100,000 a year in track over 125 and leave track out.
Good morning, everyone. My name is James Jimenez. I want to give the comment about college. I graduated from WSU Tri-Cities and marketing professors. She educated me on benefits of O-brand. I think this would be appropriate APO. If we don't, we can lose the 20 years of brand equity called. Talk to Dan that. But it's very beneficial in the track. Can't be
Else?
Chairman, I think that maybe we should go back to HAPO and propose that to them. If they want their name only, it's 125. If they go with HAPO event facility, at 100. We want to prolong it anymore, but I know that the track facility is getting close to a break-even point, and with the age of track now, which is 20 years, 23 years, we're looking and already experiencing maintenance problems, and we're going to have to really look at being more than even break-even. We cover our maintenance and our upkeep. Roof, got a good slope to it, but metal, aluminum, it fails and rusts. Whatever it is, we're going to be looking at maybe roof problems down the road here, and we're going to need some funds to take care of that. And I don't want to be going to the taxpayers and asking them for more money. We should be creating a slush fund to take care of these necessities to keep the facility running. That's my input.
So it's optimistic at best to say that track is close to breaking even because there's never been great transparency, in my opinion, about true costs of track. The numbers that get reported are O&M costs. They don't speak to the cost of the bond payments that get paid. Those run in millions over years. Commissioner Didier is absolutely correct that we're going to need funds for repair and eventual replacement of portions of the facility. There have not been any funds escrowed or set aside for those activities that I'm aware of. And in fact, we've been falling behind on repairs and maintenance. Probably need to be done. That being said, I'm aware that public facilities like this rarely, and in fact, I don't know of a single one that makes money. And it gets to the point where it's making money, then I think that means we're charging the people who use it too much since the public paid for it. So ideally, we want to break even, but I don't see this contract providing the revenue that is what breaks us. Breaks us even are some of the things that we've done, like eliminating a lot of high-cost government labor by going to professional outside contracts for catering and for beverage service, improvements to the facility like concreting the arena and getting larger clients in there. That all said, in a business, it's really hard to turn down revenue. Tom, you've already told us the track, or that HAPO is not interested if the track name is involved. I don't see any harm in asking the question. And sure that really is their position. I'm not surprised that there's concern in the county over the name change. Become familiar over time. Certainly a nostalgia element to it that is appealing. But I also know, as a guy with master's degree in communication science and marketing, the value of brands and the fact that you can overcome that with time and real cost to it, but the cost is not insurmountable. Not talking about a private business, direct competition with a number of other very similar businesses, kind of a one-off. So that branding issue applies, but not it would in the private market. I'm certainly willing to support Commissioner Didier's notion that we go back and ask the question at least about the name. I had asked the question a few months back, or actually it was about a year ago, when another entity was looking at naming rights, and I asked what the Toyota Center was receiving. The answer I got at the time was that it was comparable to what we were pursuing with TRAC. But Mr. Yenny, as he often does, provides some insight. And in this case, if the Toyota Center is getting $250,000 a year, he may very well be right that we're leaving a lot on the table. So I don't want to prolong it and delay it either, but I do think probably it makes sense for us to maybe have one more meeting with our friends at HAPO, just make sure that we're all on the same page. Everybody is coming out of this feeling as though that they're a partner and a winner, not leaving something on the table and not offending our constituents. Last point I'll make is that $100,000 a year is helpful to the bottom line, but that's less than $1 a person in the county. No fan of new taxes, and I'm not suggesting one. I'm just scale it and show what the financial value is compared to the size of the county. Fairly small.
Further? Well, what's the result of the board?
I think we asked staff to meet once more with, or at least once more with HAPO, share the feedback that's been presented here in the meeting, come back with either an updated proposal or the same one, or make a decision definitive next week. None of us want to kick the can down the road. Everybody's anxious to get going, but there's been some good brought out that wasn't discussed. And in particular for me, the $250,000 number, Toyota, I would, Tom, appreciate it if you would find out for me if in fact that's the current number. I'm not doubting this. Always known him to be precise and accurate, but I'd like to verify.
Do that. They'd losing the whole work, so.
Do we want to let him have the bargaining chip of track is left on, the 100,000 taken off, it's 125?
I might advise it's probably best to have that discussion kind of openly with the representatives of HAPO to
Right.
to
Well, I'm saying-
gauge what their level of interest is in alterations to the current proposal. I don't believe the staff would want to be in a position of making a commitment for the commissioners or promising something that we couldn't deliver, because there's always questions that could come up next week that we may not be addressing. And so I probably prefer not to put us in a position of offering certainty at this point.
Board wants you to go. Point of our agenda that is the public comment. They that like to. You none?
Hello, my name is Jeffrey Robinson. How are you? I am actually rising to speak because I am very proud of something that two of my commissioners did in relation to something they said in the Tri-City Herald. A few weeks ago, the Tri-City Herald published some articles concerning a lawsuit that affects one of the Benton County commissioners. And when I was reading this article, I had one commissioner give what seemed like a very sincere apology for what the person involved in the lawsuit, the person suing, had been through. And I saw a very thoughtful analysis by another commissioner concerning this entire thing. It made me proud to be a Franklin County resident. For all that we may disagree on politically, and for all of the policy arguments we have, we are still Franklin County. This is still a good place to live. We are still, even on our worst day, one of the best groups of people that has ever graced this merry state of Washington, and we are still, at the end of the day, a family. So I just wanted to come up here because I know that we have had our moments in the past and actually take a moment to acknowledge something I'm proud of that this current commission did. Thank you very much, and thank you for taking a stand on that issue. And to any county or any other part of Washington that may think we are lesser just because we are not millionaires, or who may think that we are not worth something because we have a proud farming history, I would respectfully ask them to reconsider their attitudes and prejudices. We are better than they think, and we are a damn good county. Thank you.
Anybody else? Move on to payroll and warrant.
It looks like we have one day only. This is fund expense. Amount of $500.60. Note for the record, this off.
I second.
Favor? Aye. That brings us to consent agenda. We have 3 listed, but number 3 polls. Motion for consent 1 and
Items 1 and 2. Item 3 has been pulled for future consideration.
I second with discussion. Yes. I believe it was on the agenda item number 1. Looking through this, the negotiations and pay raises, I noticed in the back here we have the effective dates of these reclassifications. And I just going through the list and looking at the positions, and one in particular is the bilingual program coordinator, does not receive a grade placement grade increase until September. And I was just curious as to, already we've been told that she should be at a 14. I don't know why we don't make her a 14 as soon as possible.
have a moment. Talking about different collective bargaining, union agreement.
But it has the pay grades going up, and they have the dates as of January 1, June 1, January, March, June, and then it goes to September, and in September, he finally gets raised to a 14.
Certainly would have been easier, and I think preferable to everybody to do it all at once. But
Well, I just know that this position has made us money through the state because they have hired her for the election process. We've made money because of this bilingual program coordinator. And I know that Yakima has been sued twice because they did not have one, and I think it's very important that we retain her in the auditor's office.
I was just going to say, there's no objection or disagreement here. It's a function of making sure that we are in compliance with our contractual obligations. The Courthouse Employees Union. There are a number of employees that similarly benefit the county. They're required, their positions are necessary, they prevent litigation or they generate revenue. There is some perhaps defensible uniqueness about the position that you're referring to, but part of and just kind of going back into the history of why we conducted our compensation review and study was for that reason. We recognized that there were positions that were out of line from where they should be, and it's going to take us some time to get all of those positions up to where we think they should be, where they're equitable amongst employees within their own labor units, as well as trying to be more competitive with the marketplace. And so recognizing full well what you're saying, we're in agreement there. But this was the avenue that we felt was the most equitable to all of the employees, as well as meeting our obligations into the company.
And I just know that I have talked to this person, and through the two-tier insurance plan, she's coming out of pocket $260 a month, and it's putting a strain on her family. And this is why I'm concerned that we want her to and I went through the list, and I just seen that was on the list, so I went through and just checked out. I didn't check every position here to see how many others, but I didn't. Some of them I seen where they never got a pay grade increase. I didn't go through every one of them, but that one is concerning because it is so vitally important for our courthouse, for our county. We have this person in place and happy in her position. Hey, and I just hate to see people go through financial pain because of insurance policy that's creating that.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen over the past number of years, we've lost some really talented people because we were not able to compensate them, and it's been very difficult to replace them at current compensation levels. And so, share your concern.
That's all I have.
Motion on it. All in favor?
Aye.
Return.
I don't think I have anything to bring before the board for action.
Well, executive sessions. One more spot for anybody? Anything? Board?
So, Mr. Chairman, at the request of a few North County constituents, I did a road tour this morning. As luck would have it, the impassable, wind-drifted, treacherous, dangerous public roadways that I saw were absolutely beautiful. Thoroughly plowed, and nice and wide and clean. In fairness to the constituents, I don't think were that way an hour beforehand. Call it luck of timing. So I want to point out two things. One, I want to thank our road crews who I know have been working tirelessly to keep the roads safe and keep them open. Two, I want to acknowledge that with weather conditions the way they are, you can't always get to everything all the time as quickly as people would like. And thirdly, probably the most productive thing that came out of this morning's efforts, that I've asked those North County residents to take a county map, highlight for me where those routes are that are most critical to them, to their families, and especially to their businesses. And then I want to sit down with Public Works so we can make sure that we've got the proper prioritization on which roads we go to first, and also make sure that they've got good contact numbers so that if they've got an immediate time-sensitive need, they can make a direct call to somebody and get service. I didn't see anybody in the county that I thought was asking for anything unreasonable. They weren't asking for anything that I wouldn't have asked for. It's just, as it turns out, the plows had just gone through between when they called me this morning and when we took the tour.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to, at this point in time with the discussion and the outreach to the community, is maybe entertain a workshop every quarter. But what I'm hearing from my constituents is this meeting at 9 o'clock today at 11 is in the middle of the workday. And so many of the folks would like to attend it. And I was wondering if we could maybe entertain the thought and possibly schedule a nightly meeting once a quarter. That would be every 3 months, so that we could get more people inclined to participate in our meetings, which is, I think, is vital for a happy county and community.
Chairman, I'll just add to that, over the course of my years here in this position, I have suggested that we consider evening meetings, weekend meetings, and have always maintained my willingness to undertake any of those. And just want to refresh that I'm still willing to meet whenever it's most convenient for our constituents, be that evenings, weekends. The issue has always been costs associated with staffing and security. But more than happy to have that conversation and entertain a change.